Good evening and welcome to Nice Drop of Port, coming at you live from Kerry in the Bay of Islands this evening for myself. It is another big week we've got lined up. We have another Auckland FC fan who tried his luck at the football this year. Eli Matthewson is joining us. We'll go straight to Eli. Welcome, Eli. How you going, mate?
Kia ora, Dale. Really excited to be here. Really excited to tell everyone from high school that I'm on a sports podcast, because that would not have been something anyone predicted for me based on any of the skills I showed, the interests I've had, the hobbies I've had over many years.
But you've been to 2 games, so we're going to get some good feedback from you, I think. From a perspective of someone that, like you say, would never have gone to the footy before, you're going to tell us what it's like as a newbie, right?
The vibe is rich and wonderful, and it was so good. I've been to 2. I'm not quite the curse, because I did go to the losing game, but luckily before that I did go to the game against the Phoenix, and oh my goodness, the sea of blue shirts. We had one lone woman supporting the Phoenix in our whole stand, and it was so good just because everyone was celebrating, everyone was getting excited, and then every so often she'd just say, "Come on, the Knicks," and it was just so lonely. And I gotta say, I got a lot out of her loneliness.
Lovely. Well, we'll have a good chat. We'll have a good chat with Eli, discussing his time at the football. Also tonight, Robbie Feldman. Welcome, Robbie. How you going, mate?
Very good. Thank you, Dale. Thanks for having me back. Little trepidation of whether I'd be allowed to come back on, given my efforts on the weekend with the Perth game. As you see, I've just updated my name. The commentator's curse.
Robbie's now a curse as well. Yeah, it's Robbie's first Auckland FC commentary game on Network 10.
Yes.
And we lost. Yeah.
And we lost. And boy, did I get told about it as well. All day, every day this week, I got smashed on the A-League Off-Air podcast, the intro to that. Have a listen to it. I literally yelled out. I was by myself driving in the car. I nearly had to stop and I swore so loudly. But yes, it was good to call the game on TV again, but unfortunately it was just, Auckland lost. So.
They did. Well, we also, what we'll find, we'll go to Matt next, but you'll find out that Matt's done his ratings, but also rated the commentator this week, which is a new feature. Matthew McGann, welcome back to the show, mate. How you going?
Yeah, good, thank you. Just welcome Robbie to the curse, to the curse gang or whatever. I'm coming up with the
curse crew.
The curse crew, I mean, that's probably the best so far. So I'm glad not to be. It's a pretty loaded place over here at the moment. So I don't think you'll be here long though. I wouldn't stick around too long either if I were you.
Stick around too long.
I don't intend to.
No, you'll get another chance. And so the connection tonight is, last week we had it was kind of like bring a friend to the podcast, and Robbie bought Macca last week, who we enjoyed. A decorated A-League player, won a title, won the Golden Boot, managed an A-League team, now works on Channel 10. Matthew, you brought a friend to the big shoes to fill. You brought a friend to the podcast. What's Eli's connection here, Matthew, with yourself?
Next door neighbour.
But
I must say, mine's
enough.
Mine's way better. This guy's on TV. This guy's like everywhere. There was a moment in my life where Eli seemed to be. I mean, obviously he lives next door to me, so I'd walk out the house. There he was. I turned the telly on. There he was. I looked out in the street with the advertising. There he was. I think I even went to work. Someone was mentioning the show he was in. There he goes.
And he's watering the garden next door.
He's what? Yeah. It's kind of. I was like, is he in on this? Yeah, he's kind of like absolutely following me around. So it's kind of
Matt's world is very small though. He's known as the Olympic flame, really, because he never goes out.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, Matt is. I see Matt almost every day practicing his golf swing in his backyard, and it is. I couldn't say if it's getting better or not, but he's putting in a lot of hours.
Consistent.
Oh, no. The worrying thing here is that if anybody listens to this who I play golf with, they know that I'm actually working. I like to play the old. I don't play very often. I don't put a lot of work in. Yeah, okay.
It's every single day.
Yeah.
Actually, the worrying thing is that someone from work listens to this. I'm supposed to be working from home. That should be my main worry, actually. Yeah.
You're taking breaks and then going outside.
He's too good at golf. He's too good. I played this guy like 16 years ago, and never again. Because I like to play with someone also that's shit at golf, but that is not Matt. So don't play golf.
No. I started quite young. That's definitely helped me. Yeah.
Nice. All right, well, welcome, guys, and welcome along all the viewers and listeners out there having a little duck into Nice Job Report, Auckland FC's fan podcast. We've got a big show tonight. I was lucky enough to interview Nick Becker, the chief executive of the club, earlier today, which is lovely to get that sort of insight. Incredible CV Nick has. Like he worked at Manchester City for a while, but he started by getting in with Arsenal as well. He was doing marketing up there in the UK, came down to Australia, Melbourne City for 7 or 8 years, and now he's come back home. So he's a Kiwi back home, and it's kind of, I guess, been behind a lot of the exciting things we've seen at the club in the first few months. But Eli, welcome. You're a newbie on the show. Tell us about your Auckland FC experience so far and whether you would be a likely person to be on a football podcast.
Here's how it's gone down. Look, for years, I have lived with a good friend of mine, Joseph Moore. I've flattered with him more often than not over the last 10 years. So until I moved into this place, always lived with him. And he's one of the biggest Phoenix fans of all time. So he was constantly trying to get me into the Phoenix. He was constantly trying to lend me the Phoenix hat. I think I ended up going to one game, and I never showed the passion for it. And then I think basically as soon as I heard that Auckland had a football club coming, I suddenly developed an interest in football because I now could have a rivalry with one of my best friends. And I've got to tell you, he hates it and he is so sick of it. So I was not from the jump. I missed the first game, but I heard the good news. And as soon as I heard the good news, I was like, I'm going all in. So then I went to the next game that I could. I bought the merch. I'm going hard. And he is so angry about it.
The merch. What was that Knicks game like? There was a lot of profanity aimed at the Wellington fans. Were you in on that with your mate? Were you giving it the...
I wasn't being rough. He's living in the UK right now, so I was just sending selfies without any indication of how the game was going, but just saying, just send him a photo saying, "Can't wait for you to watch this later." But the vibes were good, I thought, at that game. It was nice to have the 2 fan stands. It was full. It just felt like everyone bought a shirt, and I felt like I made a mistake. I bought the shirt with no sleeve. And I put it on and I walked out, and I think I was the only person that I could see in the stadium who'd chosen that option. So I was feeling like,
you can get a sleeve. You can get a sleeveless.
You can get a singlet version, and then you don't have to have the McDonald's logo on your arm.
Dale, there you go.
I'm keen
there
on
you
that.
go, Dale.
Anything with no, yes.
Wow.
Anything with no Macca's livery on it. It's good for me. So you've got the livery, you've got the merch. What did you make of the attacking formation against Wellington? I'm going to be a little bit harsh on you here, Eli. Give us a synopsis of the tactics that day.
The boys gave it 110%.
Yes.
They attack hard. I would say, from what I've seen, when they crumble, it's when they're in defense. When they're on the attack, they seem to be doing quite well. That's what I would say based on the highlights of the Perth game that I watched shortly before recording this podcast.
It's dedication.
It was a big. It was a great day. The derby actually was, and we talked to Nick Becker about the derby. It was a wonderful day because it was kind of the coming together of everything. You had the 2 New Zealand teams going pedal to the metal against each other. Did you enjoy the match day experience, Eli? Was it sort of a day out?
The vibes were so good. Yeah, talking to strangers, hanging out. My favorite part of the experience is that sandpit that all the kids are in. Like in the bed, they've literally got the best seats in the house, and it's kids not looking the other way in a sandpit. That's my favorite part about it. But yeah, God, got some donuts, got some hot chips. Honestly, the experience could not be better. Plus, to see the boys get a win. Matt will find that out one day, hopefully, if he returns.
Yeah.
It was good. It was good you could make the derby. Of course, Matthew was otherwise engaged watching it down country with a large dog on a sofa. I think, if I remember, was that you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think that was me.
Was the derby.
Yeah. I was sandwiched between a big old sofa and a big old dog. That was me. Yeah.
Big old sofa. So you went to the derby, and then your second game was Western home.
Yeah, and look,
not so good.
I don't want to brag about this, but I was in a corporate box for that game, and that was great because as soon as things did start going bad, there was quite a lot of free drinks and quite a lot of little savories and little bits of sushi and stuff to distract me. Because it went bad pretty early and it stayed bad the whole time. So it was a nice one. It was a nice game to have some distractions at.
Yeah. It's an interesting dynamic going to the game because football has this reputation that it's kind of one type of person that goes, right? The lager louts and but I think what's been great about Auckland is stuff for the kids, stuff for the lager louts or the hardcore, but also stuff for like any Aucklanders who just want to get involved, right? Like, did you find that, Eli? There was kind of something for everyone there.
Yeah, totally. And there's like food stands. There's lots of, I don't know, there's fun music if you want to get involved. Just watching everyone rush to get stuff signed for the players is a very good vibe. Do you find coming from a British perspective, it unusual that everyone can enter the stadium in the same doors and they don't have to be separated so they don't sort of punch each other in the face?
Very unusual. Yeah, very.
Yeah.
We can only hope one day our great country will achieve.
We'll get there. Right? We'll get there.
I'd hope that we could learn to be together as one in the UK, but I think you might be right. You'll be more chance of you going being segregated before we decide we can sit next to our rival football fans here. I find it. People say things about Mount Smart Stadium, but what I think is quite good about it, which I found with when I went with you, Dale, is that it's just very easy to get around, like the access, like the way like at normal football grounds in the UK. If you're got a seat in one end, God, but if you ever wanted to try and move around, the other stand,
no chance.
If you wanted to move it, it's so difficult. It's near on impossible. So I thought that was that's quite a good experience.
I've got my eye on the very top of like the west stand. The looking down onto the ground. So that view from the top looks good. Like you could really appreciate the football because I spend a lot of my time down in the port. Hey, bro, how you going? We got a couple of people here down here at the hotel in Kerry. Anything to add? No. You just pulling up. Nice drop of port. Auckland FC's fan podcast by the fans for the fans. It's all. Come on. Come say hi.
I think that's just a new. Oh, it is.
Yes, there is.
I think you just come up with a new motto for our podcast: for the fans, by the fans, or by the fans.
I think so. Yeah, well, he's a fan.
Yeah. He's now.
It's for everyone. Auckland FC is for everyone. All right, so we're going to have you on for a little bit, Eli. What we normally do is we have a little look at the last game. And as we know, we went away to Perth. You ever been to Perth, Eli?
No, it's too far away, and I don't want to go.
It's a good place. It's a good place to start. And I wonder, and Robbie, you might better reflect on this, whether the players had the same feeling by the time they got there. I mean, it was a
what they didn't want to go.
They didn't want to go. They didn't want to be there. It felt a fairly disjointed performance. What do you were in the game, Robbie? What did you make of it?
Yeah, it's certainly got to be a considering factor. I mean, when I was doing my research for the game, I discovered that in general, like across the last 20 odd years, Auckland teams, when they travel to Perth, they've never won. So that record is now 0-11. And I think even going deeper into that, the amount of goals that Auckland teams scored in Perth, I think you can count it on one hand across 11 games. So it's got to be a thing. Like it's over what did I have? 5,347 Ks between Auckland and Perth. It's 4 time zones? So,
more,
they're playing the game. They're playing the game close to midnight, really. So their body clocks, even though coming off a 10-day rest, getting there early, you could see in the performance it has to be considered a factor in why the team was so sluggish to start with. and ultimately it kind of cost them.
Yeah, I think so. It's a long haul flight over there, and I think they went on Wednesday. Was that 3 days to get acclimatized?
Yeah, there was a stopover in Melbourne on the way, but it's 8 hours on a plane all up doing that.
That said,
fun.
Perth are kind of near the bottom of the league, so obviously a few other teams have gone over from the east and gotten results. I mean, looking at the Auckland team, yeah, I mean they came at us quite early, and they should have had a goal after. Well, they had a goal disallowed after 7, I think, and then quickly after that there was an actual goal. But we just didn't look at the races. I mean, Matt, you would have watched this one. What did you make of Perth away?
Yeah, I think almost what Robbie said there. Looked pretty lethargic. I think all round. I think me and Robbie had a little kind of message there. I don't know if it was half time. I was watching the replay, so I think I sent you a message there, and I think we talked about debrief. I just thought it was probably not one of his best games, but I thought he was quite good what he did. I mean, I think he still came out better than most of the players, but yeah, just looked pretty lethargic. And yeah,
we've got Matt's ratings coming across the screen.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah,
Robbie Feldman 9.
Yes.
It's a 9.
We'll get on to
start with Robbie's commentary.
Okay, players first.
Yeah. We'll start with his commentary. I'll give him a 9. I mean, I can't really give you it. There's always room for improvement, isn't there? With anything that you do. God forbid I should know with the playing the game of golf. But yeah, I thought I thought it was pretty good. Yeah, I thought it was a bit harsh that she your co-commentator threw you under the bus a little bit with the that you're an Auckland fan. And just to let everybody know that you are, if you try to get out of there without being biased, she just said to everybody that was listening that you were an Auckland fan. And thanks for that.
Yeah, thanks for that. And
I thought you handled it quite well. She did go quiet for quite a while afterwards.
I shot her some daggers. Don't worry about that. Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I thought something must have been put your way. But yeah, so what have we got? We've got Paulson. Yeah,
go on. Go through the team. What we got? Paulson. Paulson. I'll do it. We got Paulson 6'5", Sakai 6'5", Pinnaker 7, DeFries 7, Gillian 6, Gallios 5, Verstraete 7, Moreno 5, Brimmer 7.5, Mai 5.5, and the subs came on Rogerson 7, Randall 6, Elliott 6.5, Mata 5.5, and the commentator Robbie Feldman gets in there.
What are you reading?
Just these are the results from the last game, bro.
I thought you were pretty generous with some of those, to be fair. I think 7's are pretty high. It wasn't a great game all round, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite... The thing with Auckland is that the back four are always solid, and they always do good stuff, and they never usually... they're a little bit ropey at the beginning. There was that bit of the hole in front of... I think Smith and Sakai, I think they kind of let things go a little bit early, but sorted them out. But they're always so good and so solid at the back. It's just, I mean, the ones that are going to stand out is May at 5.5 and Mata at 5.5 because, I mean, you're in the team to score goals, and the chances that the two of them had were just, I mean. Yeah, what can we say? I mean,
and I think that just kind of adds to Macca's point from last week. Saying that Guillermo Mai's not that prolific kind of striker that I think we need, and I have a feeling it could be Max Mata, but he just that chance that he got screams of a player who's out of form and lacking minutes. He needs to be playing more, either maybe as a pair with Guillermo Mai, but if he's regularly playing, he doesn't miss that. And I mean, I said it in the call as well, like being very kind to him. There was just an ever so slight bobble just as it got to him, so it came off basically his ankle and he skied it. I mean, a player that's in form probably deals with that a lot better, but it's really unfortunate that turned out to be a big turning point in the night.
Yeah, I was surprised that they left Mata they left Mai on and they brought Mata on, because I thought, in the first half, Perth pressed really hard, and I thought that was really going to come back and bite them on the backside. Teams that press very, very hard, very early, it gets to about 60, 70 odd minutes and they start to blow a bit. But so to leave the two big guys up front and not try and I don't know. Maybe Perth just saw something in Auckland that they said, they just don't look They don't look at the races as much as they usually.
They didn't look at the races to me. Yeah.
But the other thing to consider in all this, and it's something that does bug me, is that a lot of people are disregarding Perth just off the bat. They are a team that is actually starting to string things together. Previous matches, they'd only be in games for 15 to 20, but over the past month or so, they're building up, and that was probably the closest thing to a 90-minute performance that they've put together all year. You can kind of see what they're doing. They did follow it up with a loss to the Wanderers, but they're a team on the build. They've had a terrible start, but they're beginning to get things, I wouldn't say right, but righter, if that's a word. They're getting better, basically. So I think for them it was a good time to get an Auckland team, and they're still gonna cause teams problems, especially at home for teams making that trip across. It's going to be hard.
Yeah, that was going to be my last point. You think that Perth would, of all the A-League teams, you think Perth would have one of the stronger home records just by the sheer fact that teams have to come over from all these time zones and try and acclimatise and then try and take them on playing at 10 o'clock at night or midnight for us or whatever. It's always tough.
It's the time of day, yeah. I mean, Eli will bring you in. I mean, how do you think that would affect the players going over there and playing totally out of time zone?
Truly cursed. I mean, I do stand-up gigs over in Australia quite a bit, and just the difference of it's faster to fly to Japan than it is to fly to Perth, right? It's just such a long haul. It's a really different climate. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Perth players are making some deals with the flight attendants and slipping something in the cookies as well.
Wow, that's right. Yeah.
Those Westies are very strange.
And
I will say, just on your, sorry, Dale, just on your rating points, I do have to take points off myself because I made a pretty big mistake that I really want to apologise for. Koulibaly's red card, I called the wrong Perth player. It wasn't Joel Nasma, it was their central defender, Andriano Labib, who they look similar, and I just saw the speed. I didn't expect the central defender to be that quick. So I just thought Joel Nasma, who is a forward, and then I never corrected myself. So unfortunately, I'll take 2 points off. So it kind of, brings me back to 7.
I've taken 2.5 off.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's totally fair. That's totally fair. And
before you know it, you're going to be in matter category in a moment. You're going to be slipping below.
I'll own up to my mistakes, and I have to shout out. So doing my prep, I listened to a Perth fans podcast, The Glory Days. Shout out to them. Yeah. Brilliant, great intel. And then just for a laugh, I thought I'd have a listen to what they said about the game. So I listened back, and their direct quote was, "Stupid effing commentator, called the wrong person." Had a crack. Fully I knew it after the game, and I was like, damn it. But yes, Glory Days podcast, loved your work. Apologies to everyone involved.
This is a safe space here. You're okay here.
Yes, it is a safe space.
And Robbie, if anyone needs to cover the next game, I'm free to commentate, and I won't get a single player's name wrong.
Get them all right. Eh?
I know the first name calling. Glory.
Appreciate that. Yes.
Yeah. Well, what a great red card though. I mean.
I've got no problem with that at all.
It's a red card that I would be proud of. Dale would certainly know. These,
you got to come through the back of someone to get a decent one, eh? You got to really. Make
the game's on the line. You're not going to win from 2-0 down. He's 2 on goal.
It kept them in the game.
Exactly.
What's his name? What was his name again? The red card lad came on and then went off.
Adama Koulibaly.
And he's
youngster
been
on debut.
Yeah.
Where's he
Western
from?
Springs, right? Western Springs. He's a local boy.
Local kid.
Yeah,
he becomes, I think it was the fifth player to be red carded on league debut. And I liken that to, if you guys remember a World Cup game a few World Cups ago when Luis Suarez handballed on the line, and then the resulting penalty was saved, and Uruguay went on to win the game. That to me means it's justified. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. So I think people bashing Koulibaly is a little bit harsh.
Well,
No, because we were still in the game. We were still in the game, so
Yeah.
it was just
it's a
Professional
cultural
foul.
thing as well. That if you ask any South American player, they don't actually see that as too bad. Like we kind of, you ask an English fan or a European, they see that as like, against the unwritten rules of the game. It's ungentle.
Spirit of the game.
It's not cricket, you kind of say. Whereas in South America, it's win at all costs. If you have to
do what you can to win, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think Suarez was quite surprised at the blowback he got a bit on that one, because he was like, well, I'd do it in any other game. I've been doing it since I started, kicking the football. So
yeah.
Nice.
Perfect.
Nice. Eli, what do you reckon? Should you get sent off to save the team in any situation?
Yeah, I'd sacrifice myself. If I was Max Mata and I just missed that goal, I'd be doing anything to get a red card.
Get off the field. Yeah.
Come play out. Get me out of here.
I thought that was just my thoughts going through my head. I must have heard something come through from the wall. You must have said that out loud. I was like, am I hearing myself out loud, or did that just come through? Yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
No, I'm a big fan of a sacrifice for the greater good. I think that's it's the ultimate move. On a reality TV show or a football game.
Yeah.
Nice. And so
a quick one for Robbie though. If he's who's his football commentary hero?
My commentary hero. Oh, never been asked that.
Yeah, that's all I've got left.
Big fan of Peter Drury. Just the word smithery.
Yeah.
The Martin Tyler from back in the day. Even closer to home, like Grant Nisbet.
John Motson.
Motson. Even playing the old FIFA games, John Motson's commentary. Oh, magnificent. Yep. Grant Nisbet. I worked with him a few times. It's very good question. I've never been asked that.
I knew Dale would say Motson. I thought I had
Motson. I don't want to labour the point about your commentating, Robbie, but I did think you were very easy on the ear and not offensive.
Oh, thank you.
Which I think is actually half, because you're talking to an audience for an hour and a half, and I think if you like a good referee, a good commentator, you don't notice them. I think often, and and I thought you did very well, very, very, very modulated.
Thank you.
But at the right times, got the energy going. You weren't over egging it, as I say. Some of them do.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
The Australians, they over egg it a bit over there. I find.
Yeah. I've always kind of taken the approach with whatever I've called. Like you can remember a bad commentator, but you won't really remember a good one unless you're a fan of them. So I try not to be a shit commentator, basically. And even to top it off, that Pierman goal was voted goal of the round. So I'm quite happy that's going to be living on for some time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Lovely. All right. So we're 11 games in. We're still right at the top. This weekend, we've got a banger coming up. Melbourne City, who have snuck into first. We're third now. Eli, are you planning on heading down to any more of the games?
We're choosing. I'm doing a show that night, so it depends what I'm on in the lineup. If I'm on early, then I'm watching it at home with a friend, and if I'm on late, I'm going to go out to the game. But I don't know till the day, so I'm going to make my mind up on the day.
Lovely.
Nice.
All right. Nice. Yeah. Nice. And so you're sort of planning on seeing a few more games down the track, are you? Is that the plan?
Definitely. I didn't drop $165 on a singlet to not have opportunities to wear it.
You'll be damned if that doesn't get at least a couple of outings. Can you wear a singlet in the corporate box? Yeah, I feel like.
I certainly did. Yeah, I hope people from ANZ or whoever next door weren't offended, but yeah, I got the guns out.
So when you say singlet,
no sideways glances.
It's not the strip in a singlet version. It's like a different type of creative, right? It's like a normal polo. Yeah, it's not the strip, but with the arms chopped off, is it?
No, it's not the same. No, it's a different design. No. Yeah. Slightly different.
That'd be slightly unusual. Great. All right. Cool. All right. Well, thank you for joining us tonight, Eli. We're gonna whiz along with the show tonight. We're going to play an interview from the chief exec Nick Becker coming up. But good to have you on, bro, and hope you enjoy the next game if you get along this weekend or.
Thank you so
Future
much.
games.
Yeah, I will. I'll certainly be watching it, even if I'm not there, and very excited for the boys.
Yes,
And,
good on
and keep
you.
calling out Matt's golf swing in the backyard.
Yeah, I'll get some videos and send them directly to you, Dan, now that I've got your email.
And my apologies to you, Eli, that you got such a boring neighbour. Seriously.
Yeah, fair enough.
Wow.
Yeah,
My apologies.
Nah,
it's okay.
It's all right. He has his wife and daughter are a bit of fun, so
they're okay. Yeah, they're okay.
Yeah. We can't all be fun.
All
There's
right.
got to be at least one boring one of the three. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
They bring the personality. He brings he grounds them.
Yeah.
He turns the lights off.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. When you're born in Birmingham, that's your instant job. That's it. You're the grounder. Out you go. Good luck to you. Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, Eli. Cheers, mate. We're going to drop you off now. See you,
Thanks,
mate.
Eli.
There he is. He's gone. All right. Excellent. Okay. As advertised at the top of the show, we have a interview with Nick Becker coming up. I was really thrilled that I got Nick. I am up here in Kerry in the Bay of Islands, so the connection wasn't amazing, but all Nick's interview was great. It was just mine that looks a little bit ropey. But we are going to play that out. It's about half an hour long, so stick in there and we will come back. Robbie and Matt and I will come back afterwards. Everyone in the city and the country has been really excited by it. How did you end up the chief executive of Auckland Football Club? Can you summarize for us?
Yeah, great question. It's a. I'll give you the short version, the abridged version, Dale. But basically, I left New Zealand about 20 years ago, and it was 2003. I went over to the UK. I was born in London, so I had a British passport, but grew up here in Auckland. And it was around about 2006. I started working with a telco brand called O2, and they were shirt sponsors of Arsenal, and had a long tradition of sponsoring sport. They did England rugby as well, and I worked in their brand team, looking after sports sponsorship. Effectively, was where I ended up, and the role that I had there was working on the Arsenal account. So that was really my first sort of proper job in football. Obviously, been a fan my whole life, and followed it, and especially followed it when I moved to London, because the one thing you find out as a Kiwi going to the UK is if you don't really have any football chat in the pub, no one really talks to you. So kind of really got into it properly around the time I arrived in London, and then working with Arsenal, who were a fantastic club. I was obviously on the sponsor side, and we did some great activations together. I really learned, that was my foundation of learning around kind of the fan experience piece, and kind of how actually when you look at a football club, for me, the two most important people in the club are the fans and the players. Like sort of that's what the whole piece is built around. If there's no players playing, there's no fans watching. If there's no fans in the stands, there's no broadcast, there's no sponsors who are there, there's no there's nothing happening. So that kind of really taught me that you actually put the fans in the heart of your kind of match day experience, and how you think about and how you grow a club. From that experience with Arsenal in 2002, I then actually got tapped on the shoulders to move up to Manchester and to work for Man City. It was about 2, possibly 3 years after they had their takeover from Abu Dhabi, and went from probably a sort of a definitely in the shadow of the other side of Manchester into kind of like being a serious player in the Premier League. So I joined them in 2011 and 12, which was, for those who will remember, the first time they won the league in 44 years, and the very famous Aguero. So it was
Aguero, not Tevez. I get those two confused.
Yeah.
Aguero, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So Tevez came over, I think it was 12-13 or 13. It was 12-13. He came from United to City, but Aguero scored the winner. There was a final. United thought they won the league. The City was meant to, but they kind of looked like they fluffed their lines against QPR. Aguero, it was funny enough. It was in some ways magical, in some ways frustrating player called Mario Balotelli, who fell on his ass and toe poked an assist through to Sergio Aguero, who scored the winner in what was quite an amazing finish to the season. So that was my first season there. And I stayed 5 great years in Manchester, just really enjoyed it, really learnt a lot around fan experience, kind of did a lot around the sort of stadium experience and really worked on that kind of more marketing and commercial side of the business. And
did it get easier with City as they got better though to market the club?
Yeah, definitely. Like it's sort of say what you will, and there's many. It's football, so there's many lovers and there's many haters about every team in the land. But and some will argue City has a few more than others, disproportionately more than others. But the time spent there was amazing. Like the kind of the resource that was available, the support that they got, the kind of growth of a club on a global stage. It went from kind of literally a team that club that yo-yoed between the divisions to being a real powerhouse in first the Premier League and then European football was a remarkable thing to watch from afar, and to be part of it was incredible. Learned a lot along the way. Learned a lot through just absorbing it through some very talented people around me. Personally did a lot in my own career and also learned a lot from some mistakes that I made. So it was a great place to be, and the timing I feel very privileged and very lucky to be a part of that. And we did some the whole I looked after pre-season tours, the stuff that we did in Europe around the Champions League, and then that whole matchday and fan experience at the Etihad as well, and worked across our commercial partnerships team, worked around actually selling assets at the stadium, and then I got the opportunity. So when I joined, it was just Manchester City, and then sort of the kind of business of City Football Group grew while I was there, and I was very lucky to get the chance to firstly help launch New York City into the MLS, and then CFG purchased Melbourne Heart, and about a year after they bought Melbourne Heart, I moved down to Melbourne to help run Melbourne City, and that was around bit of a senile moment here, but I think 2016, if not a little bit earlier. And I came down to Melbourne. It must have been 2015. I went down there originally with City to go on tour, and we played in something called the ICC tournament, and then we had a game against Real Madrid in the MCG, and 100,000 people turned up to watch it, and I thought, is this what football's like in Australia? and sort of jumped on that plane and came down to help run Melbourne City, and it was, to be honest, a little bit different than 100,000 people at the MCG, but still an amazing experience in Melbourne, and had a great time there. We sort of helped grow that club from where it'd been with Melbourne Heart to kind of part of the City Football Group, and we brought in players like Tim Cahill and I think the football department and the whole football way they played football changed massively while I was there, and I was lucky to be part of a smaller executive team and really see how a whole club runs. So that kind of leads me to your original question of, I guess I gained some really good experience at Man City and sort of a really high elite professional global game, and then when I came to Melbourne, it was more around actually running a club and every little part of that, and especially in the A League. Obviously, it's not the biggest league in the world. It's a great league in my opinion, but you have to be really careful with how you spend your money. Having a salary cap league makes it a completely different kettle of fish. So learned all of these things at my time in Melbourne, and then the opportunity arose to be part of the new Auckland team, and I sort of jumped at it when I had the chance. Yeah.
You would have done, but this would have been quite a different challenge. I mean, you're talking Arsenal, Manchester City, huge fan bases, huge history. Even in Melbourne, sports crowds can be more devoted than a typical New Zealand sports crowd. How did you feel coming into this challenge to get Aucklanders into football? Can you cast your mind back for day one? What did you feel?
I think for me, the opportunity was massive to come back to the city that I'd grown up as a child, and my formative years, and to be able to run professional football clubs, it's a huge opportunity, and I'm incredibly privileged to be able to do it. I think in terms of, did I think it would be a success? I was quietly confident. You know, we did our sort of research, and we had a really good look at the market before committing to the license 100%. And if you look at how football's grown in Auckland, I guess in the time between the last professional football club and where we are today, the game has just exploded. You know, you've got 73 clubs across the northern region, over 40,000 young boys and girls playing the game, and that number's growing double digits year on year. And even on the girls' side, it's up 25% year on year. So these are incredible numbers, and don't show any sign of slowing down. You know, there's over 100,000 people playing a form of football in Auckland alone, and then you add on to that sort of the real kind of how multicultural Auckland is, how there are actually just small communities who are playing football without any other connection to the sort of official channels of club football. And so there's probably, you'd have to guess what that is, but I know there's like sort of some communities like the Fijian Indians have got 50 teams that play in a tournament twice a year, and so there's this sort of like real beautiful mix of the 1.5 million people. Football's growing at a speed that it's never done before in this city. You've got a really kind of multicultural city where football's a sort of connecting.
With a hunger, there's a population with a hunger for this. I feel we've talked about it a lot. Yeah, we're really
and I think what's the most exciting? There's two really exciting bits. There's actually the port and you guys and that kind of like. That's grown organically. You've done it all yourselves, and there's this real passion and bring the colour and the noise and the atmosphere, which is amazing. And then at the other end, you've got this like, it's fantastic because you see these families and these kids, and they're experiencing, like, you think back to your first life sports event, and those are memories that stay with you for the rest of your life. And that's what creates generational support. That's actually how you build it. They come along and they see, like they have a great time at the north end where there's a big slide and all that sort of stuff. But they see the noise, colour, and energy that comes out of the south stand. And then there's this team that are performing really well on the pitch, and that they get to meet them after the game. The players stay out there for an hour signing things, and those things are magical for a child when they're growing up, and what I love is not only the number of kids that are at the games, but the fact that it's a real kind of like balance between boys and girls as well. So it's not just like a bunch of young boys going mad. It's like you see loads of young girls who are just as passionate, just as excited as anyone else there, and that's the bit that I love.
Has it been a bit of a marketing dream to start? Because, like you say, you had the great stuff for the families. It's summertime here. People are into it. The port has kind of really taken off. Could it have gone any better in your mind? You guys must be pretty happy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you had suggested this is where we'd be before the season started, I would have snapped your hand off, right? Like it's gone. It's sort of exceeded expectations without a doubt, which I keep telling Bill how great things are going, and you need to make hay while the sun shines. But we're blown away. We're so happy with the start. But I think the bit that we said right at the start is we want to embed ourselves into the community and be a part of Auckland, and be a team and a club that makes Aucklanders proud. And I think in return, if we achieve that, in return, we kind of hope for the support of all of Auckland. And I think we've kind of achieved that. And then that's kind of one of the, off the pitch, definitely one of the proudest moments, like to be able to actually, be in any part of Auckland, north, south, east, west, and see people wearing our merchandise and kind of people talking, overhearing conversations about our games and kind of, the positivity that I receive when I talk to people, just sort of, people on the street or like you sort of Uber driver, the media, whoever it may be, everybody in Auckland, they're generally behind us and they're really proud of the team and they're really excited about what's happening. So I think to that point of, did we think it would be successful? Yeah, we knew the audience was there. We knew people were passionate about football. We knew the game was really growing. I think what's blown us away is actually how much they've got on board and how engaged the city is. And it's really exciting to see.
Tell us about that first game against Brisbane Roar and the slide. I understand you were one of the first to give it a go, Nick.
Yeah, there's a video recording of that somewhere, which I'm being held hostage to. But the slide's brilliant, and I think the slide epitomizes what we're trying to do at that end, is actually make it just fun for the whole family, for the whole game, right? And you look at the queue of kids throughout the whole game queuing up to go on that slide, which I think is really cool. The first match for me, I'll tell you a story. Was it kind of like, I think it sums up pretty much how I felt about it. When you work so hard on something and you've spent kind of months, and it was a really short amount of time, if you reflect back, and I've just had a few days off to be able to do this, is what we achieved in 2024 is quite a lot, and it was a full-on year, and to kind of actually, you sort of, we had a countdown clock of the number of days remaining till the first match, and you have these plans, and everything is kind of conceptual, and until it's a reality, and that day it actually became a reality, and I was having a little moments myself, and I was walking around the ground, I was seeing all the things that were happening, and I was kind of like, I had a little, like, so to be honest, I had a little tear in my eye. I was like, it was quite overwhelming, and the gates had just opened, and I ran into to good friends of mine, Callie and B and their sons, and I was like barely able to string a sentence together because I thought I was going to break down in full tears, because it was such an emotional moment for me for it to actually come to life, and such an exciting time, and for the fact that it was also like, the weather had been dreadful leading up to it. Suddenly the sun shone. Like, it was like a kind of like this really weird sort of, I'm not going to get all spiritual on you, but it was like a real sort of, wow, even the weather's turned out and supporting us today. And to have that many Aucklanders in the house for our first game, I'd kind of, in the weeks leading up to, I'd sort of managed the expectations of, we would be happy if we got to 12, maybe 15,000, but to sell it out was super, super, super exciting, and something that I'll always be really proud of.
Yeah, and you should be. And it's what's really interesting is, and we're running this podcast, we're talking to lots of different people. I'm from England, so I've experienced going to big football matches and being part of a football fan base. But I think what we forget is, for many, what you're providing is the first taste of something like this. Even Robbie Feldman, who's one of our pundits, works over in Channel 10, to support his own hometown against Wellington at the derby, he said was just a magical experience. And you're giving people this kind of first experience. It's incredible.
Yeah, no, it's great, and I think that's like the Wellington rivalry and the sort of a kind of a derby straight away in your first season, that can't be underestimated. Like, that has really sort of I think Auckland was ready for it, obviously, but I think New Zealand sport was, in some ways, like, you sort of like, like the broadcast numbers we got for it reflect this, the media attention, the kind of like this real sort of like, for the majority of it, very kind of creative, funny banter that kind of it brought out in football fans, but also just sports fans in general. It was really cool. I loved it, and I think it's sort of to go down. Wellington pushed hard, and we were very comfortable with this. But Wellington pushed hard to have the first derby at home, and as it was what, round 3, wasn't it? And to be a team playing only our third ever game professionally, and to go down and take the chocolates was a pretty good feeling too.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of cool. Like, even it brought some of the the celebs of New Zealand out, the likes of Paddy Gower, wading in was kind of cool. And I do have a question from Paddy. So the port, was it created by the marketing team at Auckland FC?
Not at all. It was actually. I mean, Paddy and I, Paddy and I have had a few conversations on radio, on air and off air about this, but no, it wasn't. It was actually a guy, and he a guy called Stefan, who is a passionate football. Dale, do you know Stefan? Is it? Yeah, you know Stefan. So Stefan, I think he shouldn't be forgotten in this sort of journey, because he was very influential at the start in galvanizing a group of people who were passionate about football and wanted to be part of this club. And I think for us, the only thing the marketing team did was, engage with them and embrace them and actually sit down and talk to them and listen to say, look, we want to support you guys and tell us how we can do it. But it's, the thing that I love about the Port is they have, you've wanted to be independent and you've wanted to be able to hold the club to account, but also to grow it organically. And I think that, if the marketing department had done it, you'd have half the noise, half the colour and half the fun. The beauty of it all is it's just been done by fans. And as that, it, Dale, from the UK, it's like things that happen on the terrace and get created on the terrace are just wonderful. It's a really beautiful side of humanity for the majority of it. And you see and hear funny things that you kind of just laugh along with, cherish and talk about like for weeks to come. And yeah, I think what the Port's done in such a tiny amount of time is it's equal to what we've achieved in actually getting a team up for them to support,
Yeah, and the attendance is overall, you'd be absolutely delighted. Do you feel that we can, it's a hard question, but carry on at this level? Because we are somewhat above the other Aussie teams at the moment in terms of the amount of people going to the games.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I don't see why not. I think there's a first season bounce without a doubt, and you kind of, the trick is though to kind of properly engage with and kind of make those fans who have come along to one or two games want to come to their third and fourth and want to repeat and come again. And we're going to do that by, actually, we're transparent as a club. We want to be part of the community. We want people to be coming along and being entertained, and we'll continue to evolve and grow our match day experience. We'll continue to kind of invest in the team, play great football, kind of, hopefully have those sort of matches like the 1-0 against Sydney, and like the kind of like those moments where VARs get celebrated as loudly as a goal, and home derby wins, and like those things will happen. The people that are there are gonna cherish that and come back, and so yeah, I can't see any reason why we can't continue to do it. Everyone
strangely, sorry, I was going to say my favorite game was actually the Newcastle Jets victory in the pouring rain. And looking around and still seeing this commitment from a bunch of people watching this team in the rain, I thought that was really special.
It's a really point. It was exactly what my next point was going to be, which was like everybody keeps telling me that Auckland fans are real fair weather, fickle fans, and I reckon it's a disservice to the football fans who have been coming to our games, and certainly to the Port. Like, to that point, it absolutely pissed down all day, and everyone sung and just had a fantastic time. The other bit that I love is how certain members of the Port started tidying up the stand at the end of the game after themselves. It's a really nice touch. It's quite, I don't know whether it's intended or not, but it's a bit of a nod to our captain in terms of Hiroki, because it's a very kind of like Japanese respect and kind of piece that's happening too.
Yeah, definitely seeing the connection between the players and the fans at the end of the game is just absolutely beautiful. Yeah, so the season's gone incredibly well on the field as well, I guess, which has been pretty helpful to you guys. You couldn't have imagined at the start, six wins off the bounce. 10 games in, we're still right up there. Where to from here, Nick? Like, what's the mood around the camp? Are we really serious about getting into these playoffs and going all the way this year?
Absolutely. we're not here to make up the numbers. You know, we want to win, and we want to win silverware, and you know, like if we did that in our first season, it'd be incredible. But if we don't do it in our first, we'll be working as hard as we can to do it in our second, and likewise and on. So, you know, like what we are building here, and it's certainly, you know, like kind of for years to come, and it won't be me sitting in the seat. There'll be somebody else and somebody else after that. Like, you know, this is a club that's here. We want to make ourselves sustainable. We want to build a pathway, and we want to have success for Auckland FC and for Aucklanders too. So, you know, choosing Corica as our head coach was, you know, it was something we had a very robust process. We talked to a lot of potential head coaches, and he was miles ahead of anyone else. And one of the things that just kept resonating with him was his ambition, his passion. It's like, you know, he wants to win. He's not like happy with sixth and scraping through to the finals. He wants to win, and you know, that's what we all do, right? And Bill does as well. Like, you know, it comes from right at the top, and it's something that we're deadly focused on too.
Your Monday morning Zoom calls to Bill must have been quite easy though so far. You know, all right, Bill, another win in the bank. Happy?
Yeah. No, Bill is really engaged. Like, he'll often ring me directly after the game. I'll always talk to him before the game, and we have a bit of a chat about, you know, who's playing, how the team's looking, a bit about the opposition, that type of thing. He'll pretty much watch every game except for I think the Perth one, where the time difference was on at about 3 o'clock in the morning for him or something like that. So that was the only one he really missed. But Bill, of course, is very happy, without a doubt, as are the wider ownership group as well. You know, Anna and Ali are really happy, and you know, sort of Tim Brown, who we speak to regularly, and that's all really positive. So and everyone involved has been around professional sport for long enough to know that you don't always win, and so, you know, kind of like what we need to focus in on is, like, you know, how we respond to for example, matches like last week in Perth. Like, you know, we're expecting a big reaction and bounce back from the boys on Saturday, but how we creating a club that's built on sort of sustainability and can continue to kind of perform at the top, perform at an elite level. So Bill's really keen to kind of, he doesn't, although he's happy with the day-to-day and the results to date and the attendance that we're getting, he's also asking about what's next and how do we continue to evolve. And that's what I love about him. He does continue, want to see this club. He's at no way sitting back and going, right, job done. It's like, good start. What are we doing next? And I love that about him.
Oh, just the start. Yeah, planning. Is there any sort of info or news you can give us about the potential move away from Mount Smart? You know, Western Springs has been mentioned. Is there any truth in the rumour? Can you say much at this stage?
I can't really go into it in any detail other than, you know, I guess the question is, would we like to have our own stadium? Would we like to have our own high performance centre? 100% yes. And would we look at any opportunity that was presented to us? And if it made sense, both kind of from a location, a timeline, and a financial piece, would definitely look at it and would definitely consider it, and would love to. I think it kind of goes back to our piece around youth development pathways, you know, actually creating a really successful and big club that's going to be here for a long time. Having our own stadium and high performance centre will be really important for that vision, right? So ask me that question in a few months' time and I can probably give you a more detailed answer.
Yeah, great. And the other thing of interest to some of the guys on our show is the academy. You know, work to get the young Kiwis coming through. Obviously, we've loved watching the likes of Liam Gillian this year. Are there kind of formal arrangements in place with the big clubs in New Zealand, or is it kind of like you sort of cherry pick the best ones? Or
No, not at all. This is actually something that we've worked really hard on and we're doing in partnership with local clubs across the northern region and also some of the bigger clubs in YBOP as well. So we'll obviously have our reserve team, which will play as an under-23 team in the Northern and National Leagues. That team will train and be based with us. Beyond that, any kind of like academy falls into what we're calling our development centre, and that's a partnership with 18 of the TDP clubs, so the Talent Development Pathway clubs, which is a sort of a partnership that they have with New Zealand Football. Those clubs within our area will have they've signed an MOU with us, and what that means is that we'll actually, in short, we'll provide resource training. We'll take select squads out of the collective clubs at age group level, and we'll either train with them at their clubs, or we'll bring them to our training ground and they'll train with us, and that way we can identify talent, we can train talent, we can kind of work on their strength and conditioning, their nutrition. We can sort of train them as what we expect from a professional. They get to see the professional environment. They get to sort of learn a little bit by, I guess, osmosis, and then they go back and still play for their clubs in the weekend, which is really important for us because they get to come to us, help develop them as talent, and then they go back and they kind of hopefully are big positive advocates for us in their clubs, but they also get to play with their teammates and play at the weekend for their clubs. And we're not creating this sort of like, yeah, exactly. And we're not creating an us and them environment where the clubs are annoyed with us because we've cherry-picked the best players and they stop coming to our games. It's more actually a kind of a true partnership.
Nick Becker, Chief Executive of Auckland Football Club, there with a great interview. So thanks for the club and thanks for Nick for coming on today. Really, really interesting things coming out of that interview. Robbie, what's your takeaway from that interview?
It was really good, really enlightening. I said it to you guys just before we came on. I'm always very wary with CEOs, particularly with football clubs, and just sort of, that kind of CEO speak. But he seems very down to earth, very relatable, and a good person to lead the club. And I said this in an earlier episode. It just seems like they have the right people in the right places within the club to help, with the direction of everything. No, I found that really good. Yeah. That was the question I was keen to be answered about the academy, just knowing how that was going to be in place, so that it's not the club just pillaging all the best young talent in and around the area, but at least they've got some kind of agreement with clubs there. And with what Nick said, that's somewhat of a relief, I think, is what I took out of that particular answer. But as an overall interview, really, really enlightening.
Yeah. So with the academy, the players, they come in, they get a taste of what's going on at the A-League level, but they don't pilfer and piss all the clubs off. I guess is the key.
Which is a good long-term strategy, because you don't want to basically bite the hand that feeds you, because if they're providing the young talent and you're doing that, you're basically you're burning bridges. So it's a good way of doing it. Yeah.
But a really frank interview, and I think Nick, they're almost as surprised as we are. I think that it's gone so well. But like you said, Robbie, all the ingredients are in place, and you talk to the top guy, and he was incredibly frank, answers all the questions. Even the Paddy Gower anomaly there of whether the marketing team started the port, and a categorical no.
I think that was the best thing about it. There was no corporate speak, which was also a relief to hear.
Yeah. And he set the tone. We're here to win. We're here to win silverware. Matthew, what are your thoughts from Nick's interview?
Yeah, I think the bit that stood out for me was just, he didn't say it, did he? But about the stadium, but not just the stadium, but the academy close by. It's kind of, it's very much like the blueprints. Again, I'm going back to my own football team.
Oh.
He must have had some run-ins with the guy. So the guy that runs Birmingham City now is Gary Cook, and Gary Cook was put in place when Man City had just been bought by, the guys out in the Middle East. He was and the first thing that they identified was that the stadium and the academy were going to be pretty much next to each other. The guys that were playing in the academy will know exactly what the kind of the blueprint of how we play or how we want to play football, and that's how they're going to be easily. So like your Phil Fodens and etc. You know, they've been completely immersed in the whole Man City kind of way. So when it kind of comes to playing in the and that's kind of what Birmingham City are going for, and it kind of almost looks like what Auckland FC are looking for. You know, it kind of, again, Blues hopefully one day on a brand new stadium, they'll have an academy centre nearby. That almost sounds what Auckland FC. But yeah, no, it's a fantastic interview. Really, I think what a fantastic CV. There's no. It's kind of all coming. It's kind of coming together, isn't it? You can see probably why they're doing so well from the start. You know, the recruitment of the manager, Terry from a few episodes ago, with the recruiting the players. You know, you've got Nick there as the CEO. It's
with a fan focus as well, which was really good.
Yeah, very much to the fans, but also this experience of this multi-club ownership model. You know, obviously Nick's come right through it. You know, he spent 5 years up at Manchester City at the big boys, and then Melbourne City. So he kind of understands, and I guess that's probably why Bill and the likes would have wanted him in there. Lovely to hear those kind of personal stories as well from Nick about day one. You know, like, and he had a tear in his eye. You know, and he would have done. You know, pulling something like that off is not easy. And kudos to the club for pulling it all off. Once again, thanks for Nick for coming on, and the club for putting him up. One last thing for us guys to speak about before we go, which is the weekend's game, I guess. We are playing Melbourne City, Nick Becker's old club where he was the marketing director. Well, Robbie, to you first. I mean, they snuck up the top. So I guess this is a top of the table clash, really. This will test where we're at. How do you see this weekend's game going? We're at home, back in front of our own fans.
In a word, tricky. If I'm being really honest, because City's stringing together some really good results. They're not top of the table by accident, and I think the biggest surprise about it is the fact that they've got a casualty ward of some really good talent. Like their starting team is basically in the stands injured, so they're relying on a whole bunch of youth and academy graduates, and they're getting results. Yeah, 100%. Ben Natseo has won jersey number 46, plays out wide, electric pace, and he's got a leap on him that's very much Cristiano Ronaldo-esque, which is a surprise because he's not a taller, he's not a big player. But the goal he scored against Brisbane the other day, he outleapt the central defender and put it in the top corner. Harry Politidis has become a regular in that lineup. There's a whole bunch of names of kids that, you know, a year or two ago were playing in the academy. So, and even just looping back to what Nick was saying, building that kind of, if he's come from that experience, that background, particularly with Citigroup, if you see what they've achieved with their academy and what they've just built in general, like I caught an Australia Cup game there a couple of years ago, City versus Wellington Phoenix. So I got to see, you know, Melbourne City HQ, basically. Fantastic setup, like several fields, artificial and grass, sprawling. It was shared with an AFL club at the time, but just that professional environment and what they're building towards. They've got a very good coach as well, Aurelio Vidmar. This is a very tough game for Auckland. And then when you throw in the fact as well that we're basically down to 4 defenders, and that's the 4 starters. And you look at who's out. So Hall's a long-term casualty. Sakai is going to miss this game with the concussion. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Galloway has picked up a calf injury, and Koulibaly obviously will be suspended for a game. So we're down to just a back 4 of Elliott, Smith, Pinecker, and De Vries. They've called up an uncapped 19-year-old, Cody Phoenix, Welsh-born defender from Auckland United and East Coast Bays. But that's going to be a big question of depth, and you don't want to pick up another injury. This is a very hard time to pick up injuries. Well, it's never great to pick up injuries anyway, but when you're down to the bare bones, that's going to be very tough. So I think, I don't know if that means Auckland plays a little bit more cagey, but they certainly need to be wary of City and what they've done particularly over the past month or so. So it's going to be a tough game for Auckland, unfortunately.
Can they do that? They can just call someone up from Auckland United? Is it just a phone call, or is it sort of how does that even work?
I think I'm not sure how that works. You should have asked Nick, really.
Should have done with my
Yeah.
Let's get back on phone.
Give him a quick shout.
I think I don't know, and please do correct me if I'm wrong. Because I don't know if he's part of the academy. Cody Phoenix, he could well be. So I think that's an easy call up. I think there's.
We'll find out. Yeah, there's a sort of sliding doors with some of those fringe players. I think he can sign emergency signings as well, short-term contracts potentially. Yeah, because there's no reserves, are there, at this level? It's kind of like you got your squad for your first team, and that's it. Sakai, how much are we going to miss Sakai, Matt? I mean, he's our captain. I was actually surprised he went off because he got. I mean, we all saw him getting kicked by the ball, and we were like, oh, why don't they just? I mean, the girl.
Yeah.
I know he got leathered, but we were like, oh, why don't they spend half time, just to see if he's all right? He was obviously severely concussed.
I think he must have failed the test. I guess. Do they run a concussion?
There is a concussion substitution rule in place with the A-Leagues. I'm not 100% on it, but it does mean you can come back. There has been a case I saw. I caught a glimpse of it earlier today on our website, where a player can come off, be assessed, and then come back on. I think that's how it works. So he was out before he hit the deck. There was no, no doubt about it. So I think they just immediately took the concussion sub, assessed him during halftime, and then that. But it was never going to come back. I don't think from that.
I think there's I thought Elliot was quite good when he came on. I thought he kind of held himself in pretty, slotted quite nicely there into the right back position. I think they're going to bounce back, Auckland. I really do. I look at that Perth performance. I know they lost 1-0 and lost to a fantastic goal at that, but I thought actually they weren't too bad. I think it's one of those games where they had plenty of chances. They had that period of time between 60 and about 70, 75. There's about a 15-minute period where, I mean, even if they'd only got one goal, I felt like they would have been a bit hard done by. I think they were all over Perth in that period of time where they really should have scored at least one goal. So I think they're going to be okay. I think they're going to bounce back. I know we're going to go into our predictions in a moment, but I think they're going to get a result. I think they'll get a decent result the weekend. I think they'll bounce back. And
Cork is. Well, he's publicly said like their biggest problem are the slow starts and the lack of clinicalness up front and the need to score goals. So that I don't know how easy that is to turn around in relatively short time. Whether that's over a couple of weeks.
What do you do? There's no new personnel to bring in really than the ones we've seen, right?
I think just Auckland to stick to what they know. They've again. I think I've said this before. They just haven't become a bad team overnight. I think they'll find the goals. I think they'll stick to what they do. They're tight at the back. They've dominated more or less most of the midfield battles. And I mean, Gillian's bound to get a goal at some point, isn't he? Really? I mean, he puts himself into the right positions and he's finding the space. So you'd think that was Moreno. I think unfortunately hasn't quite kicked on as much as I thought he would. Every time he came off the bench, he looked great, didn't he? But I think there's
we all wanted him in, didn't we? And then
And I mean Brimmers. I mean, I'd hate to look back at those few episodes that we recorded. And I called out James. I mean, he just knits everything together. I tell you what. I mean, Sakai's a loss. Brimmer is almost becoming the person that you would least want to lose. I mean, when everything's when everything's kind of fallen apart a little bit, he certainly shines. He knits everything together. So I think they'll be fine. I think again, Mata and Mai are not going to be prolific, but I think they're going to hopefully get a goal every now and then. And the supporting cast on the sides will score goals, and I think they'll be right.
There's goals for a few areas. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, look, as far as most disappointing on the night, Moreno, just the delivery wasn't great. It was a very slow start, and Gallegos as well that was probably his worst game so far.
Yeah.
So I think we'll see a response from those two. I mean, it might even be. I wouldn't be surprised if Rogerson comes back in on the right wing instead. But look, it wasn't a good day at the office all round.
No, Guillermo, he needs a goal. He needs a goal. The number 9.
Oh, he needs to. Yeah,
I know he's got a few.
Yeah.
He needs to start scoring. I mean, he's really nice and cute in and around the box, and I just think he needs to score. And look, to Mata's credit as well, I heard Tommy Smith on Jacob Spoonley's new podcast that he was basically, he'd be more worried if Mata wasn't in position. Yeah, he should have scored 100%, but at least he was there. So look, I just think Mata needs more minutes. I'd even want to see him start. I think it's time to see him start at some point. Whether that's rest him.
No, because I think Mai creates enough. You see him getting into really good scoring positions. It's whether he can then combine with someone else. The amount of times he shot, the shooting accuracy wasn't great, and he had a couple of saves. And look, credit to Ollie Sale as well, who was outstanding on the night in goal for Perth.
Yeah, it was good.
But Mai's creativity, and I think if you add that extra finishing touch with Mata, that might be a good combination. But then you'd need to juggle things around formation-wise.
I think Mata does deserve a start. I think what Mata's got to do, he's got to make sure that he's not going to give you as much as Mai's going to give you in terms of the
creating
play and the creativity. Yeah. But if he's going to get a start and he gets a chance and he scores, then that's what he's got to make sure. If he gets that chance, if he's in the 6 yard or he's got a header, or he's just got to put that away. That's the only thing that's going to keep him
get it in
on the pitch.
Yep.
Nice. All right, quick predictions, Robbie.
None
of us were right last week, were we?
No.
Well, wrong.
No. I was way off. Samsonite. I was way off.
You were no comment, weren't you? I think last week.
I gave it a cheeky 3-1, but yeah.
Anyway. Oh, that's right. To our YouTube viewers, it was clear. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody saw it on Spotify.
No.
So I 1-1, but I think that's being trying to be positive and generous. I could even see a 2-1 City, 2-0 City, unfortunately. But like I said, there's a few things going against Auckland that has me worried about this game in particular.
Wow. Okay.
Well, all right. So 2-0 Melbourne?
At worst, yeah.
At worst. All right. You're going for a scale of results this week.
Cover all my bases, basically.
Cover all bases. Yeah.
All right, mate. Matt, what do you?
Yeah, I actually felt pretty of all the games that I've tried to predict. This is the one that I felt most confident. I was actually going to say 2-0 to Auckland. It felt, but no, Robbie's. He's definitely put a bit of doubt into my mind. Is he seeing something that I'm not seeing, or is he just
go the opposite? Just go opposite to what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. At least one of us will be right. One of us will be able to come on. Come on the next podcast.
All right, Matthew. What are you going to have?
2-0. 2-0.
All right, 2-0.
Done.
I'm confident as well. I think they'll bounce back. I think 2-1. 2-1. We'll snake a little win. I'm really hoping that Guillermo Mai or Liam Gillian gets on the score sheet, to get the goals up front, flowing in. Tommy Smith's going to have a commanding performance at the back, looking after all those quick young players coming through from Melbourne, hopefully. All right, guys. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you very much to Robbie and Matthew for coming on, and Eli earlier in the show, and Nick Becker, of course, and thanks to the Auckland FC for putting Nick up. Robbie, before we go.
And just a quick shout out to everyone who commented on the YouTube and Facebook page. Woodward English, Phil Metcalf, and Fantastic. And our boy from last week, Mateus, even commented on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
During the Nick Becker interview, please sign Matinho Jr.
Yes.
Get that going. Yes. Get the movement. Yeah.
I wonder how many more videos he's made. Hopefully a few. We'll look forward to seeing Matinho Jr. down there. All right. Thank you very much. Enjoy the game, everybody, wherever you are this weekend, watching on TV or down at Mount Smart. And that was Nice Drop of Port up the port.
Up the ports.
Go Auckland FC. Smash it.